Viewers, welcome again the session 2 of the romantic literature. In the first session we have discussed usually what we know about romanticism or romantic literature or romantic mood, and some few words which actually encourage us to change our minds and to be romantic. Today we are going to start discussing salient features of romantic literature. The Romantic age started in 1798 and it ended in 1830. We know that 1798 was actually the publication date of lyrical ballad by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. But the age started before 1798 as there was no clear idea about romantic moment before it. The critics did not consider it, or they have not considered it. Anyway, at first we'll highlight the background of the age or the moment. Romanticism is a name given to a dominant movement in literature and the other arts, particularly music and painting, in the period from the 1770s to the mid-19th century. It is regarded as having transformed artistic styles and practices. Second, like many other terms applied to moments in the arts, the word covers a wide and varied range of artistic and practices. It is a retrospective term applied by later literary, art and musical historians. None of the artists we refer to the Romantics would have so described themselves. It was a European phenomenon, particularly powerful in Britain, France and Germany, but also affecting countries such as Italy, Spain, Poland. There was also, to much extent, an American version of the moment. We'll also discuss it gradually. The main features of the romantic moment. First of all, an emphasis on emotional and imaginative spontaneity. Second, the importance of self-expressions and individual feeling. Romantic poetry is one of the heart and the emotions, exploring the truth of the imagination rather than scientific truths. The I voice is central. It means of what? Subjectivity of the speaker is important here. It is the poet's perception and feelings that matter. So, if we analyze these two points, what we see, the first one is the emphasis on emotional and imaginative spontaneity. Emotions. Nowadays, some people claim that, even in the Middle Age, also some critic and some people claim that to be a perfect man, to be a complete man, emotion should not work. But the romantic moment says no. Obviously, emotion should have that. Without having the emotion, you may not have a what? Sympathy, kindness, or you cannot cope up with the surroundings. You cannot feel the other. At the same time, imaginative spontaneity, what does it mean that? If I ask you, you will mention that. So, what you are saying or what we are reading, beyond this, we cannot imagine anything because our idea is fixed. But the romantic moment says no, you should not have. It should be imaginative spontaneity. It means of what? Each and every one has the power to imagine, and that should be spontaneously come to our mind. Another thing is that before romantic age we have seen that most people are less important, but here the critic mentioned that self-expressions and individual feelings should have. It means of what? We are not ready to discover ourselves. We are always following the others, what the other is saying, but romantic movement denies it. It encourages, or it gives importance of self-expression and individual feeling. Another is important here. What is that? Romantic poetry is one of the heart and the emotions, exploring the truth of the imagination. So sometimes we are imagining something, but that was false, fake, and it is not relevant with our real life. But the romantic poetry, romantic poets or authors mention that no, it is a ground in which way you can identify the truth of imagination rather than the scientific truth. Now, especially the 19th century, 20th century, or the 21st century, we always try to trust on only the scientific truth, but it is not always the truth for us. Third features of romanticism is that an almost religious response to nature. They were concerned that nature should not just be seen scientifically, but as a living force, either made by a creator or as in some way divine, to be neglected at humankind's peril. Some of them were no longer Christian in the beliefs. Shelley was an atheist, and for a while Wordsworth was a pantheist. The belief that God is in everything means pantheism. Much of their poetry celebrated the beauty of nature or protested the ugliness of the growing industrialization of the century. The masons, factories, slum conditions, population, and so on. In the third feature, we have seen that some points the critic mentioned. First of all, religious response, obviously. Whenever the science has come to us, the people have been divided into two groups: atheist and religious. Some believes in God, some denies to believe in God. But romantic moment says that obviously you should have the religious response. In which way we can? For example, if we see the Riders to the Sea, Bradley, whenever he is determined to go to the mainland, his mother, his two sisters, deserters, an oracle or a message will come from the priest Charles. The church is coming. And whenever the young priest mentions that, Bradley would not go there, as they have asked him not to go. It is their belief. You have seen that. Similarly, whenever we read Wordsworth, we see that Wordsworth mentions that God is everywhere. If we think our own religion, we also see that. The people think that in mirage, Shabi Barat or Shabi Kadur, the trees, different kinds of animals, they also bow their head to the Almighty Allah. What does it mean that? It means the existence of God is revealed through the romantic moment. At the same time, another thing is important. The religious response always makes the people to discover their own self, to remove their problems, evil activities from their heart. And it also lessons us that to love each and every creation of God. So it is very important, and we'll find each and every poems of romantic is. Otherwise, you cannot say that this is a romantic literature, a romantic poem, romantic novel, romantic essay, etc., etc. Next, fourth one, a capacity for wonder and consequently a revenge for the freshness and innocence of the vision of childhood. Next, emphasize on the imagination as a positive and creative faculty. We have already mentioned that. You must think, you must imagine positively, and it will be your creative power, but it should not be taken as a destructive power. Next one, an interest in primitive forms of art. For instance, in the works of early poets, bards, and ancient ballads and folk songs, some of the romantics turned back to past times to find inspiration either to the medieval period or to Greek and Roman mythology. Next one is an interest in and concern for the outcast of society, terms beggar, obsessive characters, and the poor, degraded are especially evident in romantic poetry. Another features of romantic literature is like that, or romantic age is like an idea of the poet as a visionary figure with an important role to play as prophet. You know that prophet. Who can be the prophet? Who can guide the people? Who can guide the people positively? Whenever a man becomes derailed in that time, a prophet tries to make them walking in the right path. So some other phases, some other features we will discuss in the third session. So wait until the next session. Thank you everyone to listen to the speech on the features of romantic literature.